Hello traders, welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 244. Iliya here. You know what we're going to be doing, having a look at the markets, how they developed this week, what kind of opportunities we had, and most importantly, what we can expect for the upcoming week. I do believe this incoming week is going to be great, especially this week and last week, because we have all the important news out of the way. And we can see that the last 2 days of this week, we actually started getting a little bit of a clear direction. So hopefully that is going to follow through in order for us to have a lovely week next week and also the week afterwards. So without further ado, let's have a look at the economic calendar and then jump into the technicals. As always, let's try to frame our week based on the economic calendar. So let's see what we have. Now on Monday, we have this Empire State Manufacturing Index. How important that is, how volatile that will be. Well, it's pretty much during US sessions, so we have a major impact news during US sessions. So Monday could potentially be traded. Now, next week, I'm going to be going on a trip to Croatia, and I'm going to be out from Monday all the way until Thursday. So pretty much, unfortunately, I might only be able to trade on Friday. On Tuesday, we have a cash rate, interest rate statement for the Aussie together with retail sales for the US dollar. Absolutely lovely trading day, right? Monday has news, Tuesday has USD news as well. And then on Wednesday, we have GBP, CPI. And then on Thursday, you can see we have GBP, monetary policy statement. So those are usually like the CPI and the interest rate decisions, right? They are extremely volatile. So if you are looking to trade the pounds this week, trade it after the CPI. And then, of course, wait for the interest rate to come out, right? They do plan to keep the rate the same, so probably nothing very big will happen. But even though like nothing could happen, like they're not going to change the rate, usually it reacts in a very volatile fashion. So be careful with that if you're trading the pound. And then we have USD unemployment claims, so very nice. What I forgot to mention is that Wednesday, potentially you'd like to be careful in US session because we simply have a bank holiday for the US, and the most volatile session is the US session. So if you have a bank holiday during US session, so guess what? Take a break, be a professional, and don't trade when, of course, the time is also not supporting your trade ideas. So Wednesday could be a little bit of a break. Thursday, very good day to be trading, and Friday also absolutely good day to be trading, packed with Euro news for London. And then, of course, we have this USD manufacturing and services PMI. PMIs tend to be very volatile, so of course be careful with that. So there isn't like a super massive important news release, which is usually for the dollar, because the dollar is pretty much moving the whole market. The main highlight is also, for example, Swiss franc. We have interest rate decision, and also the GBP interest rate decision. And then apart from that, also the Aussie interest rate decision. So be careful if you're trading those currencies, right? But apart from that, everything looks pretty good. The news are normal. We are going to be having volatility next week, so you better focus. All right, first things first, we are starting with the dollar, having a look at how the DXY is developing overall. So on the monthly time frame, we don't have much to work with. What kind of truly bothers me is that on a lot of pairs, we're actually in like macro consolidations. You can see like the market is overall consolidating. We had a bullish imbalance, we had a bearish imbalance, both are failing. But if you remember, so the most recent bearish imbalance we had was here. The market tried to push lower, it failed. So then at that time, this gave me an overall clear draw of liquidity towards that monthly high. But then we had this whole previous month that was super bearish. It was also an inside bar, right, of the previous month. So it's not necessarily a reversal, but it's not also necessarily like giving us a lot of signs for a potential continuation higher. Now, what is happening so far is we took out the previous monthly low, and what you're going to spot with those, like for example, previous monthly high, previous weekly high, previous daily high, is that there are usually going to be very massive swing highs on a lower time frame. So in this case, what you see is that we have the weekly time frame, which also didn't have any imbalances. And nowadays I look a lot at imbalances, or fair value gaps, if you like to call them, because they pretty much signify where the momentum is going. If you want to define momentum, I would suggest to you to study imbalances. There are so many resources out there on imbalances that it's actually overwhelming. I do plan to do some of my own, so let me know if you would like that. I just kind of feel like there is so much out there, so just me publishing a video on imbalance will be like, oh, he's trying to be like the rest. So that's something that is actually stopping me, but doesn't matter. Now we're having a very nice bullish weekly candle. You can see also it's an overall expansion candle higher, and if we already start tracking a potential bullish imbalance, then the market should not cross this line here. That is our weekly, what I call a weekly invalidation level, because if the market opens and pulls back towards that zone, that is also going to be a bearish sign because the market is not going to be making a weekly bullish imbalance. I really do like how last week swept that previous monthly low and how it overall continued going higher this week. There is nothing to the left to stop price, so I am getting an overall bullish dollar vibes, and I do like it because I'm overall very bearish on the euro. And if you are, of course, bearish on the euro based on fundamentals, then of course the DXY should be going higher. Daily imbalance is what we worked with this week together with this daily OB that pretty much we had Monday and Tuesday. I haven't traded since last Monday, where I took a long. So pretty much I capitalized on this move, right? Then nothing. And then we had Friday NFP and then 2 days of a chop last week. Here on Wednesday, we had FOMC and CPI together. The market massively printed a bearish candle. It was rather uncertain. Then on Thursday, the market showed us that it didn't want to continue lower. And then pretty much there was a trade on Friday that unfortunately I did not take. So I haven't traded for pretty much 2 weeks, and maybe it's gonna become 3 weeks as I'm going on a trip next week. But right now, of course, we see that the market is following through higher. We are currently taking out this daily swing high, right? And you can see also to the left, we're also taking this liquidity target. So currently a lot of daily liquidity is being taken. So what I would like for the market to do is to potentially set up a daily imbalance to potentially be rebalanced, or at least work with something on the hourly time frame, but preferably the daily. All right. So what I'm looking for on Monday is to not cross this line. Right, so right now it might get a little bit complex if you're not used to imbalances, but here this line is what is going to invalidate the weekly imbalance, which is a very bearish sign, and this line is going to be what is going to invalidate the daily bearish imbalance, which is also bearish sign. So what I'd like to see is an overall on Monday, like it doesn't matter what it does, a candle like that. So for example, with a wick like this, if I can draw it properly. So a candle like that. So what this will do potentially is then a daily imbalance. And then from that, we can look to be trading it on on Tuesday, for example. So this is my plan. I'm overall bullish on the DXY. And of course, right now, if I drop to the hourly time frame, there could be something to work with, like it's super bullish. We do have, for example, this very small forward imbalance that could be something to potentially hold price and not really make it push very lower. We also have this forward imbalance to potentially react from. So I'm not sure how volatile Monday could be, right? But of course, if you do get a pullback into this zone or into this zone, you could look for some quick long trades if that is provided. But I would much prefer to wait for Monday to show me whether that daily imbalance is going to form, all right? And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, it's potentially going to be pretty nice going long, okay? Because what is the last thing that the market did? It took liquidity. So right now it will potentially want to pull back and rebalance something either on the daily or maximum on the 4H. So I'm looking for that. Overall open for longs even on Monday, but I would prefer to go long on Tuesday from a daily bullish imbalance. So that is the DXY overall bullish bias. Let me know if you agree. Let's have a look at the other pairs right now. EURUSD on the monthly time frame. So what I like to explore here is the candle anatomy. So pretty much looking at individual candles and what they're doing. We had last month the previous monthly high. The market kind of came in and it was a very bullish candle. So what makes sense is this month to potentially continue going higher. But what the market did this month so far is it actually came in to also sweep the previous monthly high once again and massively started rejecting lower. So just by looking at these last 3 months on the monthly time frame without doing anything else, I could potentially forecast that this low, right, that is our monthly swing low. So I'm gonna just make it like that. and potentially the previous monthly low right here are my two potential targets going into the next 2 weeks. So I'm already setting a bias on the monthly. Dropping onto the weekly time frame, what we're having right here is we had this weekly bullish imbalance, but again, you just read it, right? What I love about imbalances is they always gonna show you whether they're gonna hold or not. Market came in, reacted, then the next week it actually tagged this weekly swing high, and then it just massively rejected. So this candle here overall gave us that bearish buy. So I didn't make an analysis last week, so sorry for that. Had to take my grandma to the hospital, she's fine. But this week overall showed us that this weekly bullish imbalance is not going to hold. So we could have definitely targeted lower, because you can see here to the left, there is absolutely nothing to stop price anymore. So the market will potentially be running down very nicely. So right now, those are my two targets. You can see right now we're having a very nice weekly expansion candle. So similar to the DXY, we have this weekly invalidation level. So next week, we could be having potentially a weekly bearish imbalance to work with. But that doesn't mean we should wait for this. We can already start looking for new trades. Now, once again, here we had that daily imbalance. Very nice tap. You can see we had the FOMC and CPI very bullish. The next day invalidated a new bullish imbalance. Very nice bearish candle. And then on Friday, we continue pushing lower. Previous monthly low and monthly swing low are the targets. Now, once again, we could say that we could have this daily invalidation level here that I wouldn't like for Monday to tap, because if it doesn't tap it, then we're going to have a bearish daily imbalance to potentially trade from. I would really love this. However, this one can also continue without this. It hasn't really taken much liquidity. Like the last liquidity that it took was this low. And after we took out this low, the market did react, it rebalanced. And right now, yeah, it's taking the liquidity below that low. But you can see it's closing very sharply, very strongly below it. So that makes me drop to the 4-hourly time frame. What we have on the 4-hourly is this very nice 4-hourly bearish imbalance that we just tapped on market closure. So this one is very interesting. So I am definitely bearish on euro, that's for sure, and it has been a while since I actually had an overall clear bias. I am bearish on the euro. Then the next question is, all right, if you're bearish, then how are you gonna go short? So from this 4-hourly zone, I do believe we can already start pushing lower. So you have two choices. Either wait for Monday to close to print that daily imbalance and then potentially trade from that, or if you wish to be a little bit more aggressive, in US session after those Monday news, you could look to see whether the market potentially is going to start showing you bearish signs, and then to potentially target that very first immediate target that is going to be this 4-hourly low. All right. Now, I'm not going to go to the 1-hourly time frame because I don't do this on the weekends, right? So waiting for Monday to open, I'm definitely bearish on the euro. This is what I potentially would like to see, or a consolidation on Monday to print that daily bearish imbalance, right? And then to potentially trade from that on Tuesday. Those are my two situations on EU. Looks pretty similar to the DXY. So looking good for shorts. Let's see if that bias will play out. All right, let's have a look at GU. Now, GU is a bit tricky. If you remember, we were tapping inside this very big monthly bullish imbalance. The market tapped. It tried to follow through. So technically, this should have been the target. The market came very close to it and started rejecting. So it pretty much took out that previous monthly high, which is very likely a weekly swing high. Yeah, kind of not the cleanest. And you can see right now, like GU is, it's kind of different right now. And you know, we have interest rates on the pound and CPI on the pound into the incoming week. So be careful with it. We had 3 weeks of a consolidation here. And then this week massively swept up, and right now it's tapping into this weekly imbalance. So if the market is going to continue towards that monthly high, which is pretty much the target from that monthly imbalance, then it should be from that weekly bullish imbalance, which we're just tapping right now. On the daily time frame, like what's going to be a problem on the daily is that if we actually right now, so I really want you to watch out for this, if we do make a new daily bearish imbalance, so here we have that same daily invalidation level. So if there is a daily imbalance formed after Monday, that is going to be a very big supply and demand sandwich here. because the market's tapping weekly, but then it made a daily, and then the daily is gonna tap, it's gonna react. So then you have to wait for a lot more confluences and a lot more confirmation that the market actually wants to go long. So yeah, currently tapping into weekly, also knowing that we're coming from a monthly. Very strange that it didn't take liquidity here, it just stopped and reversed. So the very recent 2 days, of course, are quite bearish, and that is because of the overall sentiment of the market, like the DXY and EU as well. And yeah, here you can see we had a very nice pop higher on the FOMC, and then we pretty much made that bearish imbalance tap, and then since then we flushed lower, and right now what we have is this very recent fall bearish imbalance to work with, and also one above. So GU is not a pair that I would pick right now for a couple of reasons. It has this very strong weekly imbalance that is going to be acting as a lot of support. At the same time, it's making a daily bearish imbalance that is going to act as a lot of resistance. At the same time, I don't want to go short on Monday on this because we're just tapping into weekly, and your hourly levels, very likely they're not going to hold. Maybe they're going to give us a reaction, but very likely they're not going to hold. If on Tuesday we form that daily bearish imbalance, then I would like to wait for Wednesday to potentially invalidate that bearish imbalance during the interest rate decision. So GU is not tradable on Monday and Tuesday and potentially on Wednesday. Am I right? When were the news? Yeah. Oh, so CPI on Wednesday, right? And then pretty much on Thursday, the interest rate. So I think you should be looking to wait when it comes to the pound all the way until Thursday. So watch out, because here I don't have a clear bias. Like it both looks bearish if that forms daily imbalance, but it also looks bullish because we're having monthly and weekly bullish. So when you have a confusion like this, what you have to wait for is also for all the time frames to potentially align in a one singular direction. So we have to wait right now for the daily to start giving us bullish signs, for the hourly time frame to start printing bullish imbalances, and then we can have an easy run towards that high here. Okay, so give it some time. Definitely don't trade on Monday. Definitely wait for that CPI, which is, I think it was on Wednesday. So pretty much Monday and Tuesday, a little bit of a skip on GU. Then we're going to evaluate what's happening after CPI. And then, of course, we have to wait for the interest rate. So there are weeks like this when you just don't trade a specific instrument, because that is when all the news are going to be coming out. That is when it's going to be tricky. That is when it's going to be manipulative. The moves are going to be very fast and very wiki, and they can give you a lot of slippage. So pick another pair. EURUSD in this case is a lot better. I really started to like Aussie dollar, but just when I started liking it, it started chopping. So monthly time frame kind of took out this very strong monthly swing high. And right now, so far this month, it's doing nothing. Right, it's doing nothing. Dropping onto the weekly time frame, you can see 5 or 6 weeks of a consolidation. Bearish and up and down, and indecision and down, and then up to sweep, and like, what are you doing? So the only thing we have is that very minuscule weekly bullish imbalance that could act as some sort of a drawn liquidity. Maybe the market could get attracted to it, all right? We did have, so if I start reading it like and really trying to break it down, that was the previous weekly high that was swept this week, and this is where we very nicely reacted from. That is also a very strong daily swing high, but I just want you to look at this. Like, sometimes you just gotta stop and then zoom out and just be super realistic and like simple. Like, it's a choppy market. It's a consolidation. Like, it's not trending. It's not moving up here as well. Chop. It's not moving down. It's not moving up. It's literally chopping, and it's a very compressed range. So when you are in such a range, right, and you're not looking, for example, the hard time frames like the weekly and the daily, you're gonna drop to the 1 hourly time frame, and you're gonna get messed up. Oh, that's a bullish move. Oh, that's a stop loss. Oh, that's a bullish move, gonna go long. Oh, stop loss. Oh, now it's bearish, gonna go short. Oh, stop loss. Right? It doesn't work like this. So currently, like on the daily time frame, what we had is we came in, like, it's super tricky. We came in to sweep that previous weekly high. We made that daily bullish imbalance. We tapped on that daily bullish imbalance on Friday. So is it going to respond and push higher? Is it going to go lower towards that weekly imbalance? No idea. Like it's not giving me any signs. And then it dropped to the hourly time frame, where, for example, yeah, we took out that previous weekly high and we printed that bearish forward imbalance, which is good. And then we continued going lower. Here we had also another one, a very minuscule once again, but it got tapped and continued lower, but it stopped making new ones. So right now I don't have any kind of bearish zone to work with. It's chopping, it's still kind of reacting from that daily bullish imbalance. So I don't like AU. No honesty, I just don't like it, and I don't like the overall consolidation. So guess what? I'm going to step aside from AU, and maybe like I pick some of my other instruments. But the main focus, of course, is always EU, because EU tends to always usually make a move. But when it comes to these other ones, they also move very nice. But right now, it's not the time to be trading AU. It's also not the perfect time to be trading GEO right now. So pick your pairs wisely. That is AU. No idea what it's going to do. Again, waiting for Monday and Tuesday to open. And then as you wait for the market to just develop, right, it's going to give you the signs. Forecasting, it's something that I've come to just not do as much, right? I just jump in the morning. All right, what is the market showing me? It's this. That's my bias. Then I jump in the afternoon. Okay, how did the market develop this today? All right, I'm going to adapt to that. And then I just drop it. I don't forecast what is going to happen into the next day, because the next day I'm going to show up in the morning and I'm just going to do analysis and I'm going to just flow with the market. All right. So it doesn't matter that I don't know what it's going to do right now. Maybe on Tuesday I'm going to know, because the market is going to show you, right? All of your answers are pretty much hidden in the market. You just have to learn how to read the market and drop all of these expectations of forecasting and trying to always know where the market is going to go next, trying to always know like which zone this is going to get tapped. Just listen to it. Just jump in the market, have a look at what it's tapping, have a look at what it's not tapping, have a look at the 1 hourly time frame and where it's pointing you towards, and then you're going to figure it out. All right, enough of that rant. That's AU unclear. Well, NZUSD probably similar to AU. Now we are taking out the previous monthly high, dropping onto the weekly time frame. So this one looks very similar to GU, by the way. It's taking like that previous monthly high, and then it's making that weekly bullish imbalance that the market hasn't yet tapped into. And you can see again 3 weeks, even 4 weeks of a consolidation. This week, through a massive wick, looked like it wanted to push lower. So very likely last week, if I was doing an analysis, I would absolutely be targeting that weekly bullish imbalance. But no, this week opened, pushed to through the previous weekly high, and rejected. Like, why are you doing this? Doesn't make any much sense. So right now, dropping onto the daily time frame, well, daily bearish imbalance, I would absolutely very likely, told you last week, to look for shorts from that zone at 100%. But unfortunately, Monday opens, it actually makes that imbalance. Tuesday comes in, and then just Wednesday on the news, it just invalidated everything. So that was the FOMC and the CPI. But again, we came in to sweep that previous weekly high. What we did in the meantime is we formed this daily bullish imbalance similar to AU that is not looking like it's holding right now. Just below, we also have another one. So the key right now with NU will be to evaluate whether it's going to hold from this daily bullish imbalance. All right. How do you know this? Well, let's see if on Monday it's going to be making a new daily bearish imbalance by not tapping this daily invalidation level. So if you do have a daily bearish imbalance, that daily bearish imbalance can potentially guide us into that weekly bullish one. So that could be a very nice intra-week play. Okay. So is there something to hold it on the 4-hourly time frame? Well, fortunately there is. There is that 4-hourly zone, but this 4-hourly zone is just immediately after it tapped the daily zone. So the daily zone is stronger. So will the 4-hourly zone hold? Will the market actually push towards invalidating that daily bearish imbalance? This is the main thing that we have to wait for if you wish to trade NZUSD. Now, the more you wait, the better it will get. If you wait to see that the market is going to hold from that 4-hourly zone and start pointing lower, the closer the market gets to that weekly bullish imbalance, the higher the probability is going to become that your short can potentially work out. Because right now you can try to forecast that it's going to go short from here, but you're still encountering a lot of support. So wait for that support to be broken, wait for a new structure break below here, wait for a new imbalance below that zone here, and then of course you can jump into the market. Or wait for a new daily bearish imbalance to form after Monday, and then potentially look to trade it. So that is USD. I am a little bit more bearish. I do believe that there is a lot of liquidity to be collected here, which is also very nicely aligning with that weekly bullish imbalance, from which later we can evaluate whether it's going to go long. All right. So I'm going to say short-term bearish bias, but I need to wait a little bit more, especially waiting for Monday to close, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday could be potentially tradable. All right, gold lovers, let's have a look at gold. Now, gold is playing games and it's not tapping into this monthly bullish imbalance. So it's already been, 2 weeks into June, and it's still staying inside the previous monthly candle. Then you transfer onto the weekly time frame. There is nothing really on the weekly to work with, nothing. So to me, this monthly bullish imbalance is very clear. I mean, I do believe that this one could tap, but again, in the market, you can't believe anything because you never know what's gonna happen. So you just have to react, right? Last week, once again, was extremely bearish. We made a very massive wick higher, and then we went all the way down to make this beautiful rejection bearish candle. And then this week, bullish. Why? Right? We also had this very beautiful daily bearish imbalance. I would absolutely told you last week to go short. Daily bearish imbalance here together with the last two candles, which is usually what makes an OB. Tapped in, reacted, looking very good once again, and then on Friday pushing higher. So super tricky. Why doesn't it go lower towards that monthly zone? I don't know. So why is this Friday going higher like this? Potentially it can come in to sweep this reaction area and then maybe continue going short. But if you start getting expansions higher and the market actually shows you that it doesn't want to go lower, then you can of course even start targeting this high. Because if you think of this as a range, the market pulled back above the 50%, but this is why I stepped away from structure a little bit, because I kind of leveled up on it by also using imbalances. So you can see in this case that PD range also aligns with that imbalance, and usually there is going to be an imbalance, and if there is not, then I wouldn't even consider a PD range nowadays. So you have that daily bearish imbalance, the market taps into the daily bearish imbalance, it should push lower. Comes in a little bit, okay, good. Then it starts to flush. So we have already been in premium, pulling back into the imbalance, tapping into the 50%. And right now, if the market doesn't go lower from here, then that means that this overall range is actually weak. So if the market starts showing me a nice body close above this high here and starting to print forward bullish imbalances, I'm going to start targeting this high, okay? But if we actually come to sweep this guy here, and then start printing forwardly bearish, I'm overall bearish on gold, right? So here, came in, came out, and right now we are printing this bullishness on the forwardly time frame. That is not good. We have, for example, this forwardly zone. We also have a very tiny one right here, like this, right? So it's super hard to forecast what is going to be happening right now because a lot of things could happen. We can come into sweep and then start printing lower. We can pull back first and then come to sweep and then push lower, or like something completely different. All right. And this is my bearish outcome because I'm more bearish on gold. All right. What could also happen is that we maybe pull back and then we massively expand bullish imbalances, and then we can also continue going higher. So those are the overall 3 scenarios that I see. But again, what's the point of drawing scenarios when you can just wait for Monday to pass? You can just give it some time, and then the market is going to show you what it wants to do. All right. Don't stress, don't lose brain points trying to really hard to forecast where the market could go. Because if it's not clear at the very first moment that you jump on the charts, right, then it's not clear. And usually you might have a little bit of a problem of thinking that you are bad as a trader because you can't get to a bias. And this is something that I was struggling with a lot, because I always thought that we should know where the market is going, right? Well, no, you're not supposed to. But when you know, that is when the market is clear, and that is when you should execute. Okay, so that's gold. I'm overall bearish, but the overall price action is not giving me a lot of clues that it actually wants to go bearish yet. So maybe we come in to sweep that high, and then as we take out this high, then I will be looking to see if we get any bearish signs. So again, waiting for Monday and Tuesday to get those clues, and then potentially trying to trade it afterwards. Having a look at the JPYs, USD JPY, well, I'm going to be quick with this one because it's just unclear, right? Since we had like these interest rate changes from Bank of Japan, it hasn't been very clear. We have this weekly bullish imbalance. The market is trying to climb up, but look at the weekly. Sweeping up, sweeping down, sweeping up, like it's just a consolidation. And then it dropped to the daily time frame. And again, you see, you can, like, do you like this market? Like that's a very massive move up, very massive move down. And if you look at structure right now, you're literally stuck within this range, right? And if you look at imbalances as well, like you have bullish, then you have bearish, then you have, and then you don't get anything. Yeah. The very last one we had was here. And that actually ended up following through. We took out that high. Massive sweep, looks like a massive sweep right now on a Friday. And then do we get anything on the 40 time frame? No. So I'm just not gonna go forward. UJ is absolutely not clear right now. If it wants to go higher, I would like to see new 4-hourly pushes higher and a slightly bit clearer trend, because we don't have it right now. So if USD JPY is not clear like this, then I would expect the other JPYs to also not be clear. So let's see. But pretty much if you are trading JPYs, I would say maybe not the best time to be trading them. But who knows? Maybe you are a super specialist on the JPYs. Maybe you're nailing them. To me, on the top-down analysis, UJ just doesn't look good. Let's have a look at the other ones. Euro JPY, keeping into account that the euro could potentially go a little bit weak, we are seeing that we're overall having a bearish month so far. On the weekly time frame, we can see that we had this beautiful weekly bullish imbalance. The market came in candle 1, and then candle 2 is sweeping the previous weekly low. So if this market is going to go bullish, it should go bullish into the incoming week. If you start seeing that the market is starting to cross below pretty much also the previous weekly low right now, then it means that it might actually want to go lower. On the daily, no. So as I just saw this, I was immediately put off. The time for those guys, for the JPYs, were on this move up here. And then since this move up, like, just look at this. Absolutely choppy on the daily. You can't imagine what it's going to be on the 40 time frame. It's one big of a chop. Bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish, right? No, I just don't like it. Weekly imbalance tapped. It tried to react right now. It's coming in sweeping the previous weekly low. So if this one is going to go bearish, just wait for 4-hourly clear bearish trend. If it's going to go bullish, wait for a clear 4-hourly bullish trend. Those are the two things that I'm looking for. 4-hourly trend, because the daily is absolute chop. I would even tell you to wait for daily, right? But if you wait for something on the daily, this whole week is going to pass. So if you want to scalp it, then minimum look for a 4-hourly trend and look for 4-hourly imbalances in structure that is actually following through. Not like something bearish, then bullish, then bearish, then bullish. All right, that's EEJ, not clear at all. Well, I would expect GJ to look the same. So we are actually tapping into very major highs right now on GJ. Like you can see the 200 round number. We're just kind of around it, 201 as well. So far this month, not giving me a lot of information. Looks like an indecision candle so far. On the weekly time frame, what is interesting is that we actually tapped that weekly zone and we fulfilled that weekly target. Okay, so we came in but we actually swept it. If you look at this candle here, that's a very nice spin bar. It's also signifying that we're sweeping above this high and not really breaking above it. All right, the market actually also filled this imbalance, right? So if the market is going to go bearish right now, there is potentially nothing to stop it from going bearish. Now, what is going to tell us that is potentially like a lower time frame. This one still from that weekly follow through to that weekly high. So there could have been a long trade here. But then the last 2 days, so there is nothing bullish on the daily. When it's unclear, it's just unclear. Right, on the volatile time frame here, if you manage to get some longs, good luck. It just to me, it looks like crap. Now, right now, we came up, we came down, we came up, it came down. The very last thing we have is this bearish forward imbalance. So listen now, this weekly zone is tapped, and this could very nicely be liquidity. If you start seeing that the market is respecting new forward bearish imbalances, that could be a very easy draw on liquidity, because there is lots of liquidity here to be taken and there is nothing much to stop price. The only available reaction area I see is this one. So maybe something like this could happen. Okay, so that's my call on GJ. I'm just not sure if it's actually gonna go bearish, but I mean, we're sweeping the weekly high. On the daily time frame, we don't have anything bullish to potentially follow through. The volatile time frame is giving us the first bearish indication with this volatile bearish imbalance. So if we see another bearish imbalance on the 4H, if we see that the market is going down, right, then I would love to go down, and my draw on liquidity is going to be this. Why this low? Well, because that is the low that pulled back into the weekly imbalance. It took out the high, but it failed to continue pushing higher. So usually when you see this, then this becomes weak, because it's a failed low. This low failed to really do its job and continue pushing higher and make new imbalances, right? So then it essentially then becomes liquidity. All right, that's my bias on GJ. Let's see. Time for some indices. Once again, all-time highs on S&P 500. We are pushing very nicely higher, and we are following through from this weekly bullish imbalance that we indicated some time ago. We had a tap of it last week, very nicely continued, and then this week keeps continuing going higher. And what I really do like is that we actually formed a brand new, it's tiny, but it is a fact, a brand new weekly bullish imbalance, which suggests that once again the order flow is overall going higher. Now, when you have all-time highs, it's usually not the best because you don't have anything to target to the left, and it's always tricky when you kind of try to keep chasing it higher. Now, there are two things that could happen right now, which makes things a little bit simpler. We have this daily bullish imbalance. So if the market is going to go long, it's going to go long from this daily bullish imbalance and then potentially take out this high. That could happen immediately on Monday, because we can see that already Friday tapped in, very nicely rejected. So it could be a very easy run towards liquidity. Then is the market going to keep making new daily bullish imbalances, or is it going to sweep this and start printing, for example, daily bearish or hourly bearish? If this happens, then that means that the market is going to be seeking this weekly imbalance and then potentially go higher from that weekly bullish imbalance. All right. So pretty much that's my view. That is my view on the SPX. We can go higher from this daily zone already, right? And just take out this high. And then the question is, what happens after this high is taken? Are we going to strongly break and close above it and make a new daily bullish imbalance? Great. I'm going to keep longing it. Are we going to come in and then immediately come out and start making some 4-hourly bearish imbalances? Then that potentially could guide us into the weekly. So there are my two scenarios. Once again, we just have to wait and see which one is going to happen. Right now, I mean, on the 40 time frame, we have this daily zone tapped. We also had an opposing 40 one, so not a very nice supply and demand sandwich here. But we can see that the market came in, it's trying to react, but it's really failing to push lower from that 40 zone, which does makes me think that it could be an easy run into liquidity. And then once again, what happens after that liquidity is taken? That is the main question we have to answer, which means that we have to wait a couple of days. All right. So that's the indices. I haven't traded them in a very long time right now, but that's how I look at them. NAS 100 also extremely strong, even looks stronger than the SPX. Very nice monthly expansion candle. On the weekly time frame, also extremely nice weekly expansion coming off from this weekly bullish imbalance. Very nicely printing higher, also having a very tiny new weekly bullish imbalance here. That is always a good thing to see. And a very nice weekly expansion candle. I do believe it's Apple. Apple really rocketed, which is probably just taking NASDAQ like that. So here again, we have that also weekly imbalance. No, that is the new one. That's the new one, but the market had this daily tapped in, very massive expansion. And you can already see also on Friday. Okay, we didn't tap on Friday actually. Yeah, we didn't tap, but we took out the previous daily high. So rather extended, I would say, all-time highs. Nothing to target anymore. Also no imbalance that we tapped and then in order to have like that context to trade from. So I am not loving it, I would say. It's very nice that it's going higher, but that doesn't mean for us traders it's tradable. So I would wait for some sort of a pullback either to this daily zone to then maybe give me a long, or to continue expanding higher. I personally, when it comes to all-time highs, I wouldn't like to be chasing hourly time frame because it could stop moving anytime. Preferably like work with daily and weekly. And right now we have a weekly imbalance that is way below. So right now I would like to work with daily. So is the daily going to keep making new highs? That's great. Is it going to pull back towards that daily zone and then start pushing higher? That's great as well. Personally, I like to have that higher time frame zone to potentially support my lower time frame trades. All right, and we don't have that on Nasdaq right now because it's just pushing, which is great, but that doesn't mean it's tradable for me. All right, so that is Nasdaq looking for some sort of a pullback into either a daily or a weekly zone. And US 30 always being the black sheep, it's not pushing higher as the other two. Pulls back, tries, and so far this month it hasn't done anything, which pretty much means that we very likely don't want to trade it. Now this one actually had a weekly bearish imbalance on the weekly. That is tapping in right now. You can see we actually tapped it this week and we very nicely rejected, which is interesting. So is it going to continue going lower right now towards this low, or is it going to listen to its two bigger brothers and maybe start pushing higher? And then I drop to the daily, and this is where I'm gonna stop because it's like, just look at it. Look at the candles, right? They're so small, they're so choppy, and then you drop to the 40 time frame, and then down, and then up and down. I just don't like it. I think US 30 is not a very widely traded instrument with like futures and even with CFD indices. If you're trading it, usually the majority are trading Nasdaq, and I do see why. It's the most volatile, which is great, or S&P ES, right? So US 30, I have nothing to say about it. It looks bearish. It could definitely go bullish, but I just don't like it. I just don't like how it's lingering still here. It has a bearish weekly imbalance that is a lot of resistance. So if we eventually start breaking above that imbalance and that current weekly high, then I could look to target all-time highs. But right now, it's not ready. It's not ready, and the other two are looking way better. Alright, Fanatics, back full circle. DXY, the dollar, overall bullish bias. Now the question is, where are we gonna go long from potentially? It's either gonna be a daily bullish imbalance that could form on Monday, so trading it onto Tuesday, or maybe even potentially trying to go long even on Monday. My favorite pair for next week is EU, because it has very clear draws on liquidity in the form of that monthly swing low and in the form of the previous monthly low, which still hasn't been taken. When it comes to GU, I would say on GU wait, because we have CPI for the GBP and we also have the interest rate from the Bank of England, and it's a little bit mixed up. It's bullish on the monthly and the weekly, yet it's kind of bearish on the daily and on the hourly. So in this case, you have to wait for the hourly and the daily to start turning a little bit bullish, so that you can definitely see that these monthly and weekly zones are going to start holding. Meanwhile, a bullish GBP doesn't really support the bullish dollar as well, but we can see that the correlation very recently, it hasn't been a very big thing, right? So focus on your own pair. Aussie dollar, currently it's a very big consolidation. It doesn't give me a very clear bias, and especially how it closed, it just not tradable. So I'm going to be looking for a couple of days to pass until I look at it again. NZUSD, it has this weekly bullish imbalance resting here. It's currently tapping into daily bullish imbalances though. So the main question is, what is it going to do? Is it going to start guiding us towards that weekly bullish imbalance by the hourly bearishness, right? Or is it going to start pushing higher? That's what we also have to see. Gold is also a little bit mixed. We have a monthly bullish imbalance and we don't have anything on the weekly to potentially stop it. So this is my overall draw on liquidity, this monthly imbalance. The question is, how are we going to get there? We did try this week from this daily zone, but all of a sudden we started retracing back in, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So to me, it could take out this swing high and then potentially start pointing lower. But of course, if you see it starting to pop higher, then don't stay married to that bearish outlook. Okay. JPY is absolutely not tradable. The only thing that I think is tradable is GJ. because it actually followed through from that weekly. It took out the high, but it's failing to continue pushing higher. There is nothing on the daily bullish to potentially push price higher. And the forward time from right now, if it starts giving us some bearishness, we can definitely then target this week low. And the indices, SPX and NASDAQ, are making all-time highs. So we have to wait for a little bit. SPX could be an immediate long, while NASDAQ is already like pushing higher, while US 30 is a complete mess. So overall, what I'm going to be focusing on next week, although I'm not going to be actively trading, is mainly EURUSD and waiting for more signs on AU, NU, and gold. That is my focus. Let me know what is your focus for the upcoming week. Let me know how you also performed this week and what did you learn, what trades did you take. Let me know. Always happy to hear. And I'm going to talk to you on the next video and on the next outlook.